What is up, Ivy Leaguers? Crazy episode for you here today. Let's dive right into it. All right, I'm wearing the merch today. As you can see, we're sporting it today. It feels good, looks great. All right, we have a crazy episode to get to, so let's dive right in. We're going to see what we can get to here. All right, we got a jam packed episode. Starting off with the CFB National Championship. Let's give a round of applause. The season is coming to an end. It's been a great season so far. We can only hope that it ends with a great game. It's been one of those seasons that the unexpected has happened and the expected has also happened. I mean, it has truly been one of those years where you don't know what's going to happen any given week. Any given week, something crazy will happen and there will be an upset. I mean, it's really been a year of upsets in a way, a year of Cinderella stories, a year of craziness, and it seems to have continued into the off season as well. So we're going to get to all the transfer portal news at the end of this episode, but let's talk about the national championship. Indiana versus Miami. This is a crazy, crazy game here. I mean, neither team. All right, look. At the beginning of this season, if you had told me that the national championship would be Indiana versus Miami, I would have laughed you out of this room, and then I would have laughed even harder after you left. I mean, it's such an unexpected matchup from the beginning of the season standpoint. But when you look at both these teams, their performance throughout the season has been quite frankly impeccable. I mean, Indiana Indiana's resume is perfect. There's not a blemish on its resume, really. They are undefeated going into the national championship game. They have a chance to be the first team to go 16-0. Whereas Miami, some people thought weren't even going to make the playoffs for there for a hot second, and then they make the playoffs. They upset Texas A&M. They go and they upset everyone else. I mean, it has truly been an awesome run for Miami, a great run for Indiana. Look, Indiana massacred my Crimson Tide, but I really cannot stress enough how much that game showed me who Indiana is as a program and who Kurt Signetti is as a coach. So let's dive right into the statistics. All right, both these teams' offenses are efficient, and both these teams' defenses are incredible. I mean, look. Let's read off Indiana's offensive efficiency stats. Okay, they average 461 total yards a game, average 42 points a game. That's second in the country, and they average 218 rushing yards a game. Very good. Meanwhile, they only allow 11 points a game on defense. That's second in the country. But then again, look, those stats make you think, oh, Indiana might run away with this one. Well, look, Miami, they are not as efficient on offense. They're averaging 31 points a game, but they're right there with them in the defensive categories, if not better. They're only allowing 14 points a game, okay? And they've played some very quality opponents, some very high-flying offenses, along with Indiana. So it's really going to be a pick'em game, in my opinion. Now, look, obviously Indiana comes in as the favorite, but something that people are kind of forgetting to discuss is that Miami is the home team. Miami is playing in Miami. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, it truly is shocking that people are not higher on Miami in this game because to me, it's the same way I felt about the Ohio State Miami game. A lot of people thought Ohio State was just going to run all over Miami, and then Miami just showed it different. They showed them a different script. So it's really going to be an interesting game, and I think it depends on how Miami starts. Because if Miami starts this game hot like they did against Ohio State, then this game could be squirrely and get interesting there for Indiana. But if Indiana does similarly to what they did against Alabama and Oregon, where they start the game off with a pick six, I mean, when I was watching that Oregon Indiana game, I was expecting one of these, instant classic type games. And then Indiana gets a pick six on the first play from scrimmage, and I'm sitting there going, okay, it's going to be a long game. I mean, It made me, as an Alabama fan, feel so much better watching that game because it made it look like Alabama played a half decent game against Indiana. I mean, that's a story for another day. And look, the kind of narrative for this national championship is Indiana's elite defense plus like their balanced offense attack versus Miami's um, not high power but at times explosive offense and Miami's elite wrecking crew type defense. Um, it's going to be a chess match defensively, and defense will determine the winner of this game, regardless. I mean, you cannot tell me that. I mean, like I said, both these teams have thrived off of defensive campaigns this season, and like I just said, defense will be the deciding factor. If Miami's defense stays grounded like they have all year, I think Miami could very easily pull off this upset. But if Indiana shows up like they've showed up the past two games, and Fernando Mendoza, who right now I'm going to give an apology to Fernando Mendoza, okay? I'm putting the hand up. I didn't believe in you. I I didn't. I thought you were just a good at handing the ball off type of quarterback. That's not true. He Mendoza is the best quarterback in the country. You can't tell me he didn't deserve the Heisman because he very much did. And he's going to be the first number one overall draft pick ever. I mean, in this year, he's going to be the first draft pick. And to the Las Vegas Raiders, and he is a stud. He deserves my apology. He deserves a lot of people's apology. I mean, this guy is a stud. He is a great guy, and he's a great player nonetheless. So, if Mendoza shows up and Indiana shows up like they have the past two games, it's hard for me to pick against them. And I'm not going to. I mean, I am not picking against Indiana again. Okay? I think the only way, not the only way, the main way Miami wins this football game is if they start off the first quarter with a turnover, they force a turnover in the first quarter, and they beat Indiana's turnover margin by at least two turnovers. That is how you beat Indiana. You have to beat them in the turnover margin by at least two turnovers. If you do that, you have a chance at winning. If you don't do that, you're not going to win. Plain and simple. So I'm picking Indiana, but be aware of Miami, all right? Because Miami's playing a home game here, and they have just as good as a chance as anyone else at beating Miami or beating Indiana. So good luck to both the teams. I'm going to recap it one more time. I got Indiana winning, but if Miami wants to win, they have to force two more turnovers than Indiana. But I just don't see it happening. I think Fernando Mendoza has done an incredible job all year, and he's going to keep doing a good job in the NFL next season. That's what I got for you for the CFB National Championship. Let's talk about some NFL playoffs. We had wild card weekend last week, and now we got what's the second round? I don't know what they call it. Divisional round, maybe? Something like that? I don't know. But we got a fun one. It was a fun wild card weekend. I mean, there were looking at the list of games, at least, yeah, four of them were decided by one score or less. Well, yeah, were decided by less than two scores. So, and I don't talk about NFL as much during the regular season, but I love to jump into it during the postseason because it's really a fascinating playoff schedule to watch. It's really fun to watch for me. But let's talk about some of these wild card games. All right, we had the Rams versus the Panthers. And while the Rams were favored by over 10.5 points, I think, it was truly a close game for most of the game. Rams ended up winning 34-31, but I would just like to talk about the Panthers for a second. They have had an awesome season. Look, they've had a pretty average season for almost any other team in the NFL, but considering that this is the Panthers and that last year they won, 4 games, something like that, this is a win. They made the playoffs and they lost to the Rams by 3 points, and I think everyone owes Bryce Young an apology because he is one of the nicest guys I have ever met or ever watched. I shouldn't say he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met, but all right. Bryce Young is one of the nicest guys on the planet, and he doesn't have to be. All right, he's an NFL quarterback. He could say, I don't have to be nice. I'm good at football. But he is nice, and he got a lot of hate the past 2 3 years because he wasn't living up to that unimaginable expectation that everyone thought he was going to be. And this season, we saw flashes of what he could be, and I think not just Panthers fans, but NFL fans are starting to see why he was the number one draft pick his year and why he is so beloved at the University of Alabama and why he is going to do great things in the NFL. And the joke is, I'm wondering, I want to know what Rod Wave said to Bryce Young. I want to know because that's the whole joke. Rod Wave said, "Bryce Young, call me," and all of a sudden Bryce Young's turned into a great football player. I, and look, I get it. When I listen to Rod Wave too, I get amped up. I play a little better golf sometimes when I listen to Rod Wave. But I mean, clearly it changed Bryce Young's mindset, and now Bryce Young is throwing dimes in the playoffs. And look, they were so close to winning. Obviously, they lost, but it was a good season for the Panthers. They got to feel happy about that season. Some other crazy games. The Bears. The Bears are good. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing here. And look, I get it. It's because the Pope is from Chicago. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing for Bears fans all around the world, quite frankly. So if you're a Bears fan, we see you, and we're happy for your once-in-a-lifetime moment. We'll see if y'all can win. Who do y'all play? Y'all play the Rams. Rams at Bears could be a fun game to watch. That's going to be a really fun one there. You got to check it out. But like I said, the Bears got the Pope on their side, so it's tough to pick against the Bears. I think the Bears could upset the Rams there. The Bills versus the Jaguars was another crazy game. Came down to the wire, but Josh Allen and the Bills, they're elite. They're good. You've got to think that this is the year Josh Allen maybe gets over that hump and gets his Super Bowl. They're playing at the Broncos, so that could be a sketchy one there. But so right now I'm picking the Bills to beat the Broncos. I'm picking the Bears to upset the Rams. All right. So now we got 49ers at Seahawks. That's another big game. I think I'm going to pick the Seahawks. I think what Seattle has done this year is very impressive. Yeah, I don't see the 49ers beating them, especially without George Kittle. I think Seattle wins that one pretty handily. And now we have Texans at Patriots. This one is big. This one is really interesting here because I am a huge believer in Drake May and the Patriots. Okay, I think Drake May and the Patriots have done an incredible job this year. Mike Vrabel has really amped them up and showed what a team they are. And quite frankly, I don't think the Texans have a great defense, but I don't know if the Texans can handle the Patriots' offensive firepower. And look, I get that the Patriots played pretty poorly in the wild card, but part of me says, look, they played poorly in the wild cards, so they got their bad game out of the way. You always want to get that bad game in the playoffs out of the way, and they found a way to win either way. So I think the Patriots beat the Texans, and they're honestly one of my Super Bowl favorites, in my opinion. And so, yeah, those are the 4 games I detailed. All right, I'm picking Bills over the Broncos. I'm picking Seahawks over the 49ers. I'm picking Patriots over the Texans. And I'm picking Bears over the Rams. That's my NFL for you. Look, we'll see what happens. It'd be a cool story if the Bears pull it off. Like I said, once-in-a-lifetime thing for them. Shout out Zach Brown, Bears fan. Like I said, all it took was the Pope on their side to get them over the hump. And it seems to have. Here's a fun fact I found. The NFL playoff wildcard round has been up 13% in views over last year. That just shows how much fun the NFL is to watch right now. I mean, like I said, what was it? 4 out of the 6 wildcard games were one-score games. That's crazy. That's awesome to watch. It's just fun. It's been a fun wildcard weekend, and hopefully the playoffs continue to be fun in the NFL. Now that college football's over, we can watch it. Um, let's bring it back to college football, though, and this will be the last kind of segment of our episode. All right, so let's talk about the transfer portal. We have to have a real conversation about the transfer portal. It is a mess right now. It is a sketchy, horrible, stupid, yet fair, yet not fair, yet crazy system. So it and look, what's the stat? How many guys are in the portal right now? There are at least, last time I checked, 3,200 FBS scholarship players in the portal. Wait, yeah, that's too much. There are too many players. There is a issue with the portal, and it needs to be fixed. Okay, and I've seen it with my team, Alabama. I've seen it with many other teams. I've seen it with coaches leaving. I've seen it with players changing their minds, going back on contracts. I mean, just tonight, or last night, we had Duke quarterback Dorian Mensa. I can't pronounce his last name, but it's Mensa or something. He had said he was staying at Duke earlier, and he signed a contract with Duke saying he was staying at Duke. And then last night, at the last second before the portal closed, he entered his name and is going to go to Miami, and Miami's going to buy out his contract with Duke, give his sister a scholarship for soccer, and pay her NIL money, set him up in a country club home. This is a college kid we're talking about. I mean, it is just so infuriating to me. Especially, look, it would be a little different if he hadn't already said he was staying at Duke. But even then, it would still be messed up. And it is still a mess, and it is still something that is going on, and the NCAA refuses to fix it. And I'm a strong believer, and I don't think that the NCAA will be around in 10, 15 years because of the lack of eye-opening changes that they've done. Like, it infuriates me to the core why they won't fix it, okay? And it's not the fact that the players are leaving the schools, but it's the fact that players are forced to leave the schools, and the fact that the sheer amount of players in it, you're not going to be able to build a team. If I'm a new coach, let's put it like this. If I am a new coach coming into a new location, let's say I was an NFL head coach. Let's say I was an NFL offensive coordinator, and I have now been hired at a Division I FBS program. And I go in, my first year I have our recruiting class and a couple of transfer portal guys and the guys already on the team. I have them, and let's say I go 8-4 and lose a bowl game. That's a solid record. I mean, you lose the bowl game, of course. I lose everyone into the portal. I practically lose everyone to the portal that next year. I mean, it is just a horrible system, and it's not an issue of the fact that there is a transfer portal. It is an issue of the regulation, the timing, and everything in between. And look, I am a strong believer in, we got to put the stats away because I am a strong believer in the fact that players deserve to get paid, because when there was no NIL money, players were being unfairly taken advantage of for their name, image, and likeness. I don't disagree with players getting paid, but there is an extent where players it's starting to become a pay-to-win game, okay? And not that is wrong to an extent, but it's certainly not right to an extent either. And it's just a touchy subject, and it's so interesting. And this whole Miami and Dorian Mensa situation infuriates me, because not only did they just force a kid to go out of Duke, and they're going to buy out his $10 million contract with Duke, and they're going to pay this kid tuition. Now, they're going to pay his tuition, of course. let's start this whole conversation over. I just messed up. All right, the Miami and Dorian Mensah situation infuriates me for a couple of reasons. All right, one, he goes back on an agreement. I hate when people go back on agreements. That infuriates me to my core. Two, this Miami is buying out his contract that he signed with Duke for $10 million. Three, they're going to set this guy up in a country club house. Four, they are giving his sister a scholarship and NIL money who plays soccer. And five, they tried to do this with everyone else. All right, Miami tried to do this to Ty Simpson. They offered Ty Simpson of Alabama $6.5 million to take his name out of the draft and come back and play for Miami. I mean, look, I get that Miami's desperate for a quarterback, but come on, guys. Have a little moral sense of stability. It's just so annoying to me. And it's not just Miami is the issue. It's pretty much everyone. Look at Lane Kiffin. I mean, sweet old Lane has really ruined his reputation here, and he's getting ready to get in a lot of trouble from Ole Miss fans. Well, not just Ole Miss fans, Ole Miss everyone. Lane Kiffin has turned into somewhat of a... He has reverted to his scumbag form, okay? There was a point in time where I thought, maybe this guy has changed. I was wrong. He hasn't changed. He's still the scumbag he was, all right? And look, I say scumbag kind of... loosely. Look, I'm sure he is a nice guy to some people, and I'm sure his family loves him. But you don't do that to a football program, what he did to Ole Miss, and get away with it. All right, I'm going to call him on it. I'm not letting him get away with that and still be Sweet Lane. He's not Sweet Lane. All right, he doesn't get to be Sweet Lane anymore. All right, he is a scumbag from now on, in my eyes. He's not a good guy. But, like I said, the portal is a mess. Look at Alabama's team. All right, Alabama's team, they've lost so far, I think, 23 guys to the portal, 12 or so guys to the draft. I mean, it's just a mess. And it's guys that you're starting. Like, it's not like you're starting at the biggest stage. Why would you leave? And let me tell you why. Money is the key to all problems in life, right? It's not, but it's just the portal has turned into some sort of a mess. I hope it's figured out for the sake of the sport, because I love the sport, but there needs to be regulation, and that is the truth. That's it for today, Ivy Leaguers. Ending on kind of a solemn note there, right? I mean, we don't do that here at Ivy League Sports Podcast. We'll start off the next episode with a happy note. That's all I got for you today. Check out the golf video, all right? I've heard y'all loved it. All right, we're going to get another one going. We're going to get a match going soon. Yeah, it was great. I'm loving the feedback. I'm loving the tips on my golf swing. I needed a lot. Someone commented, who was it? Someone was saying that my weight was on my back foot, so I went to the range the other day and I kind of worked it out, and I see what you're saying. I got it. I think that my swing has gotten a little better, okay? I think. Now, of course, in the next golf video, you'll still probably see me chunking some hybrid shots, which isn't good, but who knows? This is Ivy Taylor from the Ivy League Sports Podcast, signing off. Have a great day. Good night.